Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Here we go, everybody. A special edition, and I do mean special in all caps, of Dr. Homebrew.
It's the short bus show.
It's the short bus show, but long in the tooth. In the tooth, in the
tooth.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's
those things in your mouth that aren't tongues.
That's true. Those are dentures. Anyway, everybody, welcome back again. It's Dr. Homebrew. We do have a pretty cool show for you. We have the boys from Sonoma Springs Brewing in the studio today, and apparently they think that we know what the fuck we're talking about because they want help with some beer, which is pretty cool. I think they're gonna throw out a session IPA, and they want us to taste it and help them choose which recipe to put out into the
and they're pilot batches, so it was brewed on a homebrew
pilot
system.
Batches. They're homebrew, absolutely, 100%. It's I'm pretty excited about it. I think that's special. It means that we've faked it to this point. We haven't made it necessarily, but we've faked it.
We've got our front going successfully.
Looks like we faked it.
It's a big time.
You ever want to see anybody blind themselves by putting on lip gloss? Just look at Beverly right now. Apparently her lip gloss has lights in it. And I just watched her blind herself. Modern girl problems, dude. You know?
Oh, man. Technology.
Anyway, before we get any further into this weird shenanigan that we call Dr. Homebrew, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn all about the ways that they can help you make better beer. You can get PBW, Star San, Sandy Clean, all the kind of good stuff that you see at every reputable homebrew shop, and you know all the kind of good stuff that helps you clean stuff and sanitize stuff in that order, and then helps you be able to make drinkable stuff, which is the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, but I have a question for you, JP. Can
Brian?
Can you use a sanitizer as a cleaner?
You cannot. Well, I don't know. Can you? I wish there was a step by step. No, you cannot.
I'm going to quiz you on these. We had the 8 rules on the last show.
That's true. That's true. Brian,
rewind last show.
Is 8 rules of sanity, which I believe is on the 5 Star website. Yeah. 8 rules of sanity.
Yes.
Which is
cannot use a sanitizer as a cleaner. It's not going to do the same thing.
And you can't use a cleaner as a sanitizer.
Thank you for that little tidbit.
You're welcome.
That is absolutely true.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. And
try sanitizing with PBW.
Some people might. You never know. I know there's a lot of confusing products out there. But, the folks at 5 Star will set you straight. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. If your favorite local homebrew shop does not carry 5 Star, ask for the manager and demand that they contact the folks at 5 Star. They're nice people. They bring you this show, and basically they allow us to slurp into your ears, which is very nice.
And if your homebrew store guys are nice, demand nicely.
Please demand nicely. Yes. Homebrew store people are a finicky bunch. They're like abused animals. And it's to a certain extent,
peanut
butter, grain dust, usually.
Oh, yeah. Breathing in all that.
Too much hop chad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's homebrew shop workers are very odd bunch, but
they're our friends.
Just ask Jade and Roberto at Hop Tech.
I've always found them to be very reasonable.
They're reasonable,
normal, and
we're
cool,
a reasonable bunch,
and just perfectly normal people.
Man, I ran into some weirdest people working at More Beer, man.
Oh.
Some of the weirdest people. Because homebrewers are weird, man. It's a hobby that kind of appeals to a wide range of
from weird to normal
socioeconomic backgrounds or whatever.
Right.
Psychological profiles.
Yes. The FBI would have a field day just profiling the standard homebrew customer, I'm sure. I don't know.
He comes out of like the do-it-yourself movement in the 70s, right? And all those funky people that went out in the woods and made their own
out of the woods,
whatever,
liquids,
peanut butter, made their own soap, and made their own, did their own canning and stuff. And
I've done all of those things.
A shack in the woods with a wood heated stove and nothing else.
You made your own. You can buy a bar of soap for like 90 cents.
That was last weekend, right?
Why would you make your own soap?
Why not?
Well,
I went through this whole thing where I was like, I'm crafty. I'm not crafty. But I did accomplish what I set out to do.
You made soap.
I made soap. I made a lot. I still have some. You want some? Because I don't wash myself with it because it didn't really do the job.
Taryn made soap once, but for like Christmas gifts, like 3 years ago.
Hindsight being what it was, that's probably what I should have done with the soap instead of shoved it in a Ziploc bag in my closet.
You're never going to use it that way. You should probably put it out.
Well, I was thinking of putting it in my... This is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I need to throw it out.
You could give it as gifts for Christmas presents next year.
How long ago did you make it?
Long enough ago that I shouldn't give it away as Christmas gifts.
Bring it to BNA 10 and raffle it off as a prize on the main stage there. Just like, what we got?
Yeah.
That might be pretty good.
Beverly's homemade soap.
3 bars of Bevo soap.
3 bars.
Right.
Lemon, lavender.
Lemon, does it smell at all like either of those two things now?
It smells a little like plastic.
Oh.
They'll be
but that was right off the bat.
Okay.
Some people are bad homebrewers. I'm a bad crafter.
Maybe it's aged well. I don't know. Can we judge your soap?
I'll bring some in next time. I will.
Okay.
I will make a whole. I'll make whole guidelines
right.
about latherability, and
You should have aged it in a barrel, not a plastic bag.
Yeah, then we would have a shot here.
I should have saved the $40 that the soap making kit was.
Yeah,
and just bought some ivory.
Soap, gone to Costco.
Exactly.
Yeah, good job, Bev. Okay, Sonoma Springs. We have Robert and Derek, right?
That's
got
right.
you guys? Okay, God, I was like worried about that.
Pressure's on.
Pretty stupid. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
Where is Sonoma Springs?
It's about a mile west of the square in Sonoma, right off Riverside Drive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long has that been a brewing entity?
Well, so the company has been around since 2008.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we recently moved locations, probably about a year or so ago. Just down the street, same water supply as the original.
Yeah.
And tap room is scheduled to be open in early June. Pretty excited about that.
Oh, wow.
We've been brewing in the new location since January. Been back in market pretty much all across the Bay Area since the end of January. Got our temporary occupancy January 7th, brewed our first batch on the 8th, and we've been selling draft since the 28th and selling growlers out the front door.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
You guys are...
Bootstrap.
That seems fairly fast-tracked, doesn't it, for a brewery? I mean, I hear all these horror stories about people getting delayed for 5 months this way and that way.
So what we didn't tell you is that we started the move, a year and a half before.
1842.
Right? Yeah.
And it finally took...
It's been a long process.
Okay.
Well, it helps that you already had all the equipment. You just had to move
that's
it.
also true. Yeah. You knew exactly how everything fit and right.
Kind of.
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
We had this awesome plan, which was, just didn't work out very well.
Plan took twice as long, cost twice as much. Was
everything that you guys read about starting your brewery, it's true.
See, I want someone to come in and go, I listened to your show and someone said, take how much you think you're going to need and double it, and that's how much you need. And I did that, and I needed to double that again because at some point we're just going to need to multiply everything by 8.
We're pretty much there.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what I seem to think. I don't know if anybody's ever gone. You know what? I took that advice of someone who started their own brewery, doubled my what I foresaw my capital being, and it was perfect.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
Nope.
I only spent 80% of plan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had to go back and get another loan from the bank. That's what I hear more often than not.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, Derek, are you brewing? You're the brewer. What do you do?
No, actually, our head brewer, Tim Gopinger, is actually brewing as we speak. He was supposed to be here tonight, but our assistant brewer had to step out for some personal reasons, from what I understand. So as a one-man show, and I was joking with you guys earlier, it's truly handcrafted right now. Right. There's not a lot of automation.
Yeah.
he needed to focus there. So,
well, in your email you said that your assistant had to go catch the midnight showing of Cinderella.
That's right. It's priorities.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. So no, I brew when I can, but Robert and I are looking after the business as much as possible. We're out.
Okay.
We're selling.
Is it your full-time job?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
All right. Now, so
it feels like it, though.
Yeah.
It does.
And you were on our show a year or two ago.
That's right.
All right.
My brother-in-law and I were on. I want to say that was right after I'd moved back from Seattle. We tasted a couple of our beers. Had a good time. Obviously, met some of the crew from Mad Z's in Livermore and Pleasanton. So happy to be back. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that was fun having Derek Chris on there, and good to have you back.
Yeah.
So yeah. Chris can listen later. Of course.
I think he may be listening
Maybe he's watching
now.
live.
Yeah,
Hi, Chris.
He texted.
Mad Z's.
Texted earlier. Yeah.
And Robert, how'd you get involved in this whole thing? What do you do?
So I got involved almost on a lark. I met the team, the founders of the brewery, at a bar in Sonoma, and
it's a good place to meet.
Yeah. So I was shooting pool, and this guy was killing me, and that normally doesn't happen. And I found out that he spent most of his time at craft beer bars with pool tables in San Diego. But he's friends with one of the co-founders of the brewery, the brother of the brewmaster, who is Tom Geppinger. And so I started talking to them. I live in Sonoma full time. I worked in the financial services industry for 22 years. And it was just an intriguing project. I knew about the product from having had it at some of the top restaurants in Sonoma.
Okay.
But at that point, they had shut down at their old location, and I couldn't find them anymore. But there was a little sign that says, "Hey, we're down the street," and I couldn't quite figure out where it was down the street. Anyway, so I met them and started talking to them.
Well, it's not like Sonoma's a big place either.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But
they should be easily found.
There's enough little nooks and crannies to add a brewery in.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Sonoma has its global face to it. It's a tourist face, but there's a lot of eclectic things up there too. So, but anyway, I ended up starting to do some work as thinking as an investor would, is, hey, is this business worth getting involved in and helping them raise capital or putting capital in. And so here I am a year and a half later. I've learned a lot about brewing. I've always been a beer drinker, but learned a lot about brewing, but have really just focused on all the non-brewing parts of this business that I could help bring expertise to get it on its feet at the bigger scale that we're at, and back into the market at the bigger scale, and with all the challenges that brings as you're relaunching a business.
Okay, all right. And so to that end, we have 2 session IPAs here.
Yeah.
And this is a new product for you guys.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's been a fairly popular style. Certainly one that that I've drank a lot of.
Yeah.
Since they got popular a year or two ago. And we have a couple of different styles or series, as we call them. We've got our core series, which is includes some of the other beers we bought, our Kolsch, our core RPA, our black IPA. We've got our German series. Tim is of German descent, so he's all about the German styles. We brought an alt, a Wise beer.
God bless you.
I don't think we brought any of the Roggen beer. It's not quite ready yet, but that's
Friday.
Yeah, so
I love hearing breweries do that shit. Man.
Yeah, it's
down with IPAs, up with everything else.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's been super interesting. It's you have to have an IPA, right? I mean, everyone knows that, and
that's the reality.
Exactly. Yeah. We've got a couple, but where we're really seeing a lot of traction with our draft customers, and even restaurants, is the unique offerings. Mm-hmm. There's so many good, big, heavy, punch you in the face IPAs where you really can only have one, maybe two. Right. People are looking for an alternative, right?
Hey, if you like IPA, have you tried this?
Yeah,
very good.
Well, and I think there's a differentiation between, well, maybe not differentiation, but there's an identity crisis maybe in craft beer where it's there's a bunch of people who think craft beer is IPA, and then there's everything else. Mm-hmm. And you have to appeal to the people like us in this room who have been drinking these other styles instead of just IPA. I have friends who the only craft beer they drink is IPA.
Yep.
Because that's just what's readily available, and I don't know if they know about anything else, but they're just not actively looking for it. But I think you need to service that market of people who know about the IPA but want some variation on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and I think at the end of the day, I was just drank IPAs for years, and then I kind of figured out, hey, there's other stuff and it's really good, and I still start off the night with an IPA, but oftentimes I'm not ending the night there, right? So so we're doing
the gutter.
Yeah, exactly. Doing really well with our German styles.
I hope so.
Being in the wine country, we're really embracing and have the heritage of the breweries that we've embraced wine country. So we have a barrel program that we've restarted, which includes sours, right? Which obviously takes some time to get to where they need to be. So those aren't ready yet. Super excited though. There's quite a few distilleries up in our area as well, which I don't think a lot of people know that. They're small, but so we're doing some barrel projects as well. For example, we took our Roggen beer and we're aging it on whiskey barrels for
rye whiskey barrels.
So it's a rye-based beer on rye-based whiskey called Daedalus. And that'll be ready probably in a month and a half or so. We're going to sell that in large bottle format.
Did you trademark the name already? You guys get that out?
No, we didn't. But we have trademarks on some of the other stuff.
Okay.
It's So, anyways, you asked the question about the sessions.
Yeah.
It's a style I'm a big fan of. There's some really good ones out there. There's some ones that I think need some work. So, when we first started talking about the summertime, and like we said, our Kolsch is a really good seller. But I really wanted to do a session. Got in touch with you guys, said, hey, this would be a cool experiment. I actually just tasted both of them for the first time just now, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. Our goal is to get feedback. At the end of the day, we all started as homebrewers, and so we want to obviously put the best product out there. They're very different, as I said, very, very different, both in terms of your hop build, your malt build. The other interesting thing, too, was we brewed it on my system.
Your homebrew system?
My homebrew system,
which
is pretty solid homebrew system. It's it's got some automation and whatnot in it.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to map the process that we went through to what it would be like on our bigger system.
Yeah.
And so there were some intricacies there, and then all the cooling management around fermentation and. There's just some nuances, so it'll be interesting to see what you guys think and get your feedback, and then it'll be really interesting to try it once it's been scaled up, brewed on a professional system with all the bells and whistles that we don't have access to.
Have you scaled up a batch from the home brewing system up to that yet?
Not yet. No, this will be the first one.
This will be the first one.
Yeah,
cool.
And then the next one, Brian, we're going to do is the bourbon barrel aged milk stout that we tasted last time we were on the show,
nice.
which was awesome.
Great.
Question about the name real quick, Sonoma Springs. I mean, you're talking about the area and the things that are up there. You're close to Calistoga, and there's a lot of natural springs up there. Yep. Is there a natural spring that your water is feeding off of, or is it a minerally kind of, or is it like just where's the water coming from?
Yeah, it's a water profile that Tim, our brewmaster, is super into and definitely thinks adds a lot to the beer. So much so, as I mentioned before, when we were looking for new space, one of the requirements was that it was on the same water supply as the old place.
Yeah,
right?
I heard you paying attention to that.
So that's it. And I know I've listened to your show many times. Water is a big deal, and that's ultimately why we landed where we did, is because it is on the same water supply.
Awesome.
So,
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get started on these beers, what makes a good session IPA? Guys, what do you think?
Well, so
hops.
Yeah,
I mean, is this something in the new guidelines?
Strength wise, it's like a pale ale, but it should have. I mean, the hops should be much more prevalent than just a regular pale ale, and it also have a certain dryness to drive the drinkability, I think, too, and just but.
Is it just a hoppy pale ale, or is it different? Like, what are we looking for when we try these beers?
The difference really, I mean, a pale ale is kind of a nice balance between malt and hops. It's not an aggressive beer. It's something anyone can drink. I mean, doesn't take a hop head aficionado to go for pale ale.
Right.
Whereas an IPA, it's all about hops, all the hops you can get in there, at least for most West Coasters these days.
Yeah.
So session IPA is that scaled down alcohol-wise, bittered to balance, so it's not going to be as bitter as a regular IPA, but it should balance the malt pretty well. Okay. But it should still have that hop aroma and the flavor character. So it's going to be, compared to a pale ale, it's probably going to be hoppier in the nose and the aroma and the flavor, but it's not going to be over the top with the bittering. It should be nicely balanced for the bittering.
Yeah, you definitely want to push up those aroma hops as high as you can get them in this to make it, hey, this smells like an IPA, and this is, but it is a very delicate balancing act with the strength versus the bitterness there. So yeah, if you bittered it like a regular IPA, it would just be way out of balance.
Okay. Well, let's try these beers. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about them and kind of go from there. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, stay tuned real quick. We'll be right back with more Dr. Homebrew.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
High Gravity Homebrewing Supplies wants you to keep it simple. Brewing should be fun. And with High Gravity's amazing electric brewing systems, it is. High Gravity keeps their brewing systems simple on purpose. More efficient than gas, customizable, and with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 vessels, High Gravity's electric brewing systems will completely change the way you brew beer, formulate recipes, and improve your beer's consistency. Dave at High Gravity can customize your system to fit your needs. High Gravity invites you to visit their Build Your Own Brewery page and see how easy it can be to brew electric. And High Gravity offers $7.99 flat rate shipping on most of their products. www.highdgravitybrew.com. High Gravity. Keep it electric. Keep it simple. Visit highdgravitybrew.com.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small, single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite Bare Bones Club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. We're with the guys from Sonoma Springs. We're trying a little bit of session IPA, dueling session IPAs. Pretty tasty stuff, guys.
Thanks.
I'm digging it.
You have the dueling banjo song queued up?
I don't, unfortunately. But I wish I did. That's why you should just run the boards, Brian. And you'd have everything queued up.
Next time.
You'd have the music covered, that's for
Then
sure.
we wouldn't need you,
Yeah.
JP, right?
That's true. Yeah, that'd be great.
You could just sit in the corner and drink beer and laugh.
Yeah, I got some. I got a hockey game I finished playing. Okay, Brian, you look like you have a bunch of notes here, and I like that about you.
Oh, I'm drawing pictures.
Yeah, so we're not going to do a super formal, judging of these because these fellows are kind enough to ask our opinion on things. So we don't need to rank and give it points and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically just a highlight.
Compare and contrast. And what they said is true. It's two very different beers.
They're extraordinarily different.
Two different hop profiles. So, yeah.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and start us off, man?
Yes, with Session IPA number 1. I'm getting a dankness to the beer. I'm getting in the aroma like an oniony and kind of the CTZ kind of hop profile a little bit, and a pininess in there with some low citrus. It seems to have kind of a Columbusy and maybe some modern hop blend going on in there. I don't want to guess hops, but. And sometimes there's some really experimental hops that are coming out that people throw in some of these beers, and it's like, oh, use experimental hop 3247, and it's, hey, that's pretty good. I don't know, I can't get that at my homebrew shop yet, maybe, but it's cool that you got some and you're brewing with it. But yeah, so whereas session beer number 2, it's perfumey, bright, it's a little sharp, it's got some citrus as well, and the hop character in that is maybe a little earthier. It's an interesting blend in that one too, but I tend to prefer personally. I'll say, Lee may beg to differ, but I prefer the hop aroma in session beer number 1. It just has a nice balance of some of the different modern elements and some of the classic elements that make like what makes Pliny the Elder so good. Has some of that kind of character to it, like. And normally I don't like a hop that's super oniony. It's just a slight little, onion garlic thing underneath some of the other elements in there, the dankness.
Yeah, in low amounts.
The piney. And it blends with everything, and it makes it really interesting and fun.
Yeah.
Both the beers look pretty much identical. They're both slightly cloudy, kind of an orangish, light, kind of orangish gold color. It's not super hazy, and you can forgive some haze in hops, and this might have just been put out too. That you may clarify it for the final brew, or you may leave a little haze in there, which is okay for an IPA. Flavor wise, a lot of the same things in the flavor of the hops in both beers that you get in the aroma. It's and then session beer number 1, session IPA number 1 has a nice little low kind of toasty malt. I think that the malt profile is probably similarly done, or probably the same recipe, I would guess, but it's, as it plays off the hops, it comes across a little differently. There's a little bit of a low toasty malt in number 1 that I find to be balancing better with the hops. And it's not intense or anything. It's just kind of there to support, and it's pleasant. Number 2 also has it's got a more malt character than in some pale ales or in some some of the really light IPAs that they brew with just base malt, which, to me gets kind of boring. I tend to like my IPAs on the lighter side, but you got to put a little something else extra in there to keep it a little more interesting than just being, hops on top of base malt. I find that to be a little more balancing. If you go too crazy with that, it's going to throw it off, so the hops aren't coming through the way they should. But I think that the malt is in a really nice place for the beer. So on both of these, it seemed like the bitterness, or maybe something in the second one, is coming across a little bit higher. It's kind of like medium low, as opposed to kind of medium low bitterness in the first one. But they seem very close to the same bitterness levels. And they both have both fairly light bodied, kind of medium light to light body, and medium carbonation. But yeah, both very pleasant drinking beers. I really like the character in the first beer of the hops a little bit better, and everything else that's going on is kind of working with the beer. So if I had to vote, I'd vote for number one. So if Lee disagrees with me, then JP, you'll have to be the tiebreaker, I guess.
I love being tiebreakers.
No pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, great beers. Thanks.
Lee, what do you think? Are you going to break Brian's heart, or are you going to...
Well, that's a different story.
No. It's a different story. It's a different show altogether.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So these beers, I definitely agree with what Brian said about sort of the body and the maltiness. And actually, if you were to tell me, and I have no idea if this is true, but if you were to tell me that these were the same base malt recipe, and the same malts in here, same bittering level, I would have said, yeah, that's about what it seems like. And who knows, I'll end up being totally wrong when you tell me what's in these things. I thought they both did a pretty good job of balancing bitter versus the malt profile while still being fairly dry and drinkable. That's a bit of a challenge in these beers, because usually when you're making a lower gravity beer, the danger is you get too light a body to balance out the amount of bittering you're putting in there because you're thinking IPA. So I think you guys did a pretty good job on that. For me, it could maybe use a touch more malt in the balance, but it's actually pretty nice as it is. So I thought on that respect, they were both pretty good job. So the rest of it then that I'll talk about, I guess, is sort of the hop perceptions here. And I think Brian's perceptions were fairly on. The first one, I got a lot more kind of dank and oniony kind of things and a little bit of fruit underneath that. The second one was more earthy pine, but then a lot of fruit. And actually, the second one, I almost thought I was getting something like acetaldehyde in there, a green apple kind of thing. But it might have actually been the hops. I'm not even sure.
I was waiting for you to say something, but yeah, it might have a little bit of. I don't know if we kind of gave you guys a tight schedule if you had to rush one or the other of them, or if one of them's younger than the other. But yeah, I think number two might have a little bit of fermentation byproduct left over.
That you guys and that would go away quickly, probably in another day or two sitting around.
Second one was brewed about a week and a half after.
Yeah. So. Okay.
It might need a little more age to finish that out.
Yep.
So I mean, for me, I think the balance, the body, the bittering is pretty equivalent between them. You'll tell me how I'm wrong. The hop profile, for me, I like the hop profile of number one a little better. But if the number two didn't have that acetaldehyde note in there, it might come across a little more interesting. But that was kind of a turnoff for me.
But the hops seem mellower in that, and I don't know if it's because of that note or if it's just the way it is. But yeah, it seems like they're a little more subdued, and the first one has a little sharper, happier hop character in there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And the one other thing I'd say, I mean, these were both being poured out of growlers, and they're probably pretty low on carbonation, judging by how they poured. So they could use a little help there, and I'm sure that will be forthcoming when you have them on tap. But and it might help with the other issue I have for both of them. They both actually seem a little bit low on hop aroma to me. I mean, it's definitely there, but I would expect with a session IPA, especially around here, you'd get a pretty good attack in the nose. You don't have to throttle back the aroma on these things. And, maybe if they're carbonated up, that'll come across more strongly. But for me, I just wasn't getting that big a nose on these.
I could see that, yeah. You could boost up the same hops, just boost it up, 15% or something, or 20%.
You could. First, I would take the rest of this and put it in the kegs and carbonate it up so it's not pouring a little bit flat and see if it presents the nose you want.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, then I'd consider adding more hops. But the carbonation does a lot to drive the aromas. And these beers are both a little on the low side on
Yep.
that. So I think that may be hurting them.
Yeah, and one of the things I mentioned earlier, we did make some mistakes, as all good homebrewers do, and learn from them. On the first one, we actually, it's my fault, forgot to put the brewing salts in as we were getting going. So, adding some gypsum, for example, for hop aroma might have helped, or could have helped what you're talking about. Yeah. But we do have them. We have a couple of kegs. We're planning on putting them on tap in the tap room for growler fills this weekend. Kind of get some customer feedback as well. So it'll be interesting to test that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate
You're welcome,
that.
JP.
Here's my take on it from a non-IPA guy standpoint. First of all, what's the ABV on these puppies?
The first one is 4.8, and the second one is just over 5. Right around 5.
They both kind of taste like IPAs to me. Like they have a really big mouthfeel, kind of crystal malty. I would like to see a lot of that, like maybe 20% of that sweetness kind of come down. But then the bittering would be out of balance too. I mean, I think they're very balanced. I think 2 is maybe a little over bitter. I agree with Lee. They taste like the same kind of base malt. They taste like the same grain. But I think 2 might be a little bit higher bitterness than 1. But for me, it's just it's like a East Coast, like a hoppy East Coast IPA, if that makes sense. Like kind of crystally and a little heavy for a session IPA.
Yeah, I think point taken. I think one of the things we were trying to go for, some of the some of the sessions that we've we brought in 30 of them literally from across the country and tasted them, and some of them were overly hopped, some of them were under hopped.
Yeah.
What we were really trying to avoid with the malt build was the ones that taste thin, that are grassy almost. Yeah. Does that make sense? Or weedy?
Oh yeah.
So we were trying to avoid that. Exactly, but we
thank you for that because that's a palate killer.
Yeah. So, but point taken.
It's a challenge to make a beer also that's like 4.5% or so and have it not be watery.
Well, and that's the
these are hard.
Neither one.
That's the second
thin.
one. Yeah, for being let's call them just under 5. They don't taste like it.
Yeah,
which is great. I mean, they have a lot of body, but I think maybe too much for a target session IPA. The aroma in 2 is probably the most amazing aroma I've ever smelled in an IPA. It smells like, I asked you, you put grapefruit juice in it. Like, I know that for a fact, and you didn't. And
nope. We did not.
It smells like grapefruit juice, like fresh grapefruit, and that to me is amazing. I think the aroma from 2 and the bitterness and the flavor of 1 would be great. That's my.
So you're throwing the gauntlet down there. Huh?
Yeah, sure. I just want you guys back to bring a bunch of beer.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Definitely
try to blend them together too.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it smells like ruby red grapefruit, man. It just not grapefruit juice, but you still get the pith and the kind of tannin that comes with the actual fruit. But I dig it. I mean, I could just sit here and sniff this all day. That's amazing.
For a non-IPA guy, that's a big deal.
For a non-IPA guy, that's right. That's right. I got a sniffer. I just don't. Just doesn't like whatever.
Well, Lee and I both voted against you.
Wow.
So
Yeah, we like one.
You did.
I think. Yeah, we did.
Well, I like a combo.
yeah,
Well,
let's
blend
try
them
that.
together. See what you think.
Let's try it. What do you think? You think
Do
it'd be
it.
weird?
That's a separate question.
Why not?
Again, don't forget to mix.
We do blending, right? One of our sours is a blend of 2 of our beers. So
That's actually pretty good.
is it?
Yeah.
All right.
They do blend well
It's
together.
like a 50-50.
Yeah, you can really taste it. It's like a 50-50 mix of half number 1 and half number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then about 5 seconds later, the bitterness kind of comes through.
Yeah,
But-
for
but-
me, I don't know. I kind of disagree with what JP said. I wouldn't cut down the sweetness or the body at all in this beer.
Neither
I
one
think
is too sweet.
If you did, you'd really have to throttle back the bittering.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Otherwise, you'd end up with something not,
if you
not
did,
very nice.
yeah, if you did lighten it up, I would just maybe you could try it at 4.5 or 4.6, 4.7, just slightly lower than the 4.8. I find that session beers, in the new guidelines, they define a session beer as like being below 4%, and that there's a lot of session beers that are advertised as session beers that are like 5 point something, and
I know,
like,
right?
Well, that's
like even the
that's
session
just
from
common strength.
Full Sail is
I
like
think
5.5.
That's the problem with trying to apply a term like that to something where there's an historical practice, which wasn't necessarily called a session beer as a style, but all the British bitters that were sort of referred to as session beers, and those mostly are 4% and under, or 4.5 and under.
I think
some of them.
3
and in
to
the
4.
U.S., everybody's just sort of turning IPAs and pale ales into sessions, and if they drop it from 7 to 5, it's there.
Or 6 to 5.
I mean,
a real Brit would look at that and say, "That's not a session beer." Of course, that's an Australian accent. But,
of course,
it's
all the same.
It's all over the map for alcohol strengths and session beers in this country.
When you're used to drinking the IPA has become, it must be 7% alcohol. So now higher and higher, it's the style creep, and that's what happens. Styles develop over time, but then there's going to be a reaction to that, and I think the reaction is this. The session kind of counterculture movement, like getting really popular, but it's not like, let's go straight down to 3 where other people might have said a session beer was. We can go to 4-ish or 5. You can still, like, if you're used to pounding those 7% beers, you can drink a few of the 4.5 or 5% beers and not lose your focus too badly.
Yeah.
So is there a difference between a session beer and a sessionable beer?
No. Yes. Well, I think a sessionable beer is a session beer, but not all session beer. Wait. All session beers are sessionable, but not all sessionable beers are session ales, right?
Well, yeah, okay. A Berliner Weiss isn't usually called a session beer, but it's pretty sessionable as long as you don't have, like, acid reflux.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
True. Good point.
Yeah. You kind of run into that whole what is a session beer problem that we have here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
We're defining it right now.
Let's just define it right here and right now. Yeah.
What do you think about what we said about this?
No, I think it's great.
Stuff.
And like I said
Are
earlier,
we full of shit?
No, not at all. And I
feels like it.
This is the first time I tasted these as well. So I've got lots of ideas and thoughts in my mind. Being very self-critical. But it's interesting because, I can tell you guys what the builds were if you're interested.
Yeah,
actually, let me take a break.
Okay.
And we'll come back, and if you can just run through the recipe, and then while we're doing that, we can maybe
taste some of those.
Taste a culture and
fuck with that alt beer,
half
dude.
hour all at the same time.
Or both.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll clear the palate with the Sonoma Springs Kolsch, and then we'll go to the Brewho Magic.
I love it.
All right.
Sounds good. All right, everyone, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with some more tasty beers. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be back after this.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. Admit it. Homebrewing is not always free of frustrations. Years ago, brothers Bill and Jim Mitchell decided to minimize those frustrations and create an entirely new brewing process and a brand new kitchen appliance, the Pico Brew Zymatic. The Zymatic sits on your kitchen counter and connects to the internet via Wi-Fi. It comes with access to a huge recipe library full of award-winning beers and can brew your next batch at the push of a button. Improve repeatability and refine your recipes with the Pico Brew Zymatic. With minimal cleaning and hassle, the Zymatic enables anyone to brew craft beer in the comfort of their own kitchen. Just add your ingredients and the process of homebrewing becomes simplified and automatic, allowing you to focus on what really matters while you brew. At Pico Brew, they believe everyone should be able to enjoy the art of homebrewing and make their own damn good craft beer. See the Zymatic in action today at picobrew.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, everyone, thanks for hanging out. I almost missed the break because we're tasting some of this Kolsch from the guys from Sonoma Springs. And I like to think of myself as a Kolsch aficionado.
He likes to.
I like to. Nobody else does. And this is very, very good.
It's a very interesting Kolsch. I like it.
It's hard to find. It's hard to find people, especially in the Bay Area. Stupid Colorado probably has a bunch of people making Kolsch for whatever reason, but it's hard to find people in the Bay Area who make a Kolsch and then who make a good one.
There's a few. There's a few people making Kolsch.
There's a few, but they're hard. I think they're hard to find.
You got to look.
We just did a Kolsch tasting as a part of the Oktoberfest homebrew competition. The guy Daniel Owens, who won the Best of Show last year, got to brew his beer with 21st Amendment. We had a little tasting with the Mad Scientist at Three Sheets Craft Beer Bar in Dublin, and they had a keg of his beer there. So they John from our club managed to wrangle that and put together a tasting with that, and it was a lot of fun. So there are Kolsch's around. They call it, at 21A, they called it their classic with a K at the end and a K at the beginning.
Oh,
Kolsch.
Well, of course. Why wouldn't they?
And it was a pretty fun beer.
Just dropped a keg of the Kolsch off on the way up here at Three Sheets.
Cool.
So,
All right.
Love that place.
Yeah.
You should get some of this in here, man. This would go.
They just put in a dartboard, too.
And the
this place needs a dartboard. And as we were there, they were like installing a dartboard. Like,
awesome.
Hey, that guy has a good idea.
That's awesome. That's a great place.
So, do me a favor, man. Run through real fast the session IPA.
Yeah, sounds good. So, let's see. Number 1 was Vienna Malt, Victory, and Caravien. And we had Warrior as our bittering on the first wort. We did have Columbus, Citra, and Simcoe.
Yeah.
Throughout the mix. So that's probably what you guys tasted.
Your pine and your onion and the dank.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Exactly.
So wait, Caravien,
Victory, and Vienna Malt.
Wow.
Those three, no base malt. Well, you're using those.
Those
were the
you're using
specialties.
those.
Vienna Malt was the base.
Okay. Vienna Malt's the base.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were just messing with them.
No.
Wow.
Yep.
No, well, that will help keep the body up in lower gravity beer.
That was our thought process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
Let's see. On the second one, we had Pilsner Malt was 85%. We had a Honey Malt at 8%. We had Simpson C 30 at 3%. Flaked Rye at 4%. And Carabage Malt at 4%.
Carabage?
Carabelge.
Belge.
Thank you.
Carabelgian?
Sorry, it's the sessions getting to my head.
They managed to get the color exactly
It's a nice
the same.
light tan malt, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This alcohol is actually too low. I can't focus.
I can't
was
focus.
the Carabelge?
Well, it's the couple we had before we came in, right? Over dinner. And then from a hop perspective, we used Nugget for bittering. We used Crystal, Heavy Crystal. That's probably where you got the grapefruit for finishing an aroma. And then we used, and then Crystal again for aroma.
And a little
dry
more
hopping.
classic kind of hop flavors. In there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And aromas.
Yep. And then from a yeast perspective on the first one, we used a standard California ale yeast. And then the second we used California lager yeast fermented at a bit higher temperatures.
Huh.
Why?
So.
Why California lager?
That's a Tim question. He's a big fan of using that yeast and fermenting it at different temperatures to get some different esters and whatnot. And maybe that's what you guys were tasting. We didn't give it enough time. So
Yeah, it could need a little while longer to clean everything up
Yep.
with that particular yeast, and it was done later too. So yeah.
So cool.
Let's crack this alt open too. by
Yeah,
the way,
yeah.
'cause We're kind of up into the show, and Kolsch and alt are like some of my favorite styles. And
Beautiful.
like I said, man, nobody makes them.
And I heard they have a good Hefeweizen there, classic German Hefeweizen. That's cool.
Yep.
Well, JP, you can make an alt.
I can. I've done it once.
Yeah. Why not do it again? Nobody makes them. You make your own. You're a home brewer.
Well, that's why I can't. I'm a home brewer. I don't make good beer.
So our alt's a bit darker, I think, than most that you'll see.
It looks dark, yeah.
Yeah. This one's a little...
like brown.
Yeah, it almost looks like, like a porter.
Like a brown porter? Can they get this dark?
They can get towards brown, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like brown porter-ish.
I'd have to look. I think by style guidelines, if you want to be a numbers Nazi, this is probably getting out of range, but who cares?
Yeah, maybe they stop at dark coffee.
Very kind of coffee. Coffee flavored, yeah. Coffee alt.
A cult.
Yeah, and this one's one of those ones that I was telling you guys about that's been really well received, especially in places that are focused on craft beer, not just IPAs, but all craft beers. We continue to see reorders of the alt, the Roggen. I think people like us, and I'm going to put us all in one bucket here, that have been drinking craft beer for a number of years are looking for something different. They don't want to have 4 IPAs in a night and blow their mouth up. They want to try different things. So it's been really nice.
I'll share that bucket.
Yeah, very well received. I think it's something that differentiates us especially in this market.
Nice. So, question on this beer.
Nice out. Yes.
Oh, is this also using that California lager yeast or something else?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer.
Okay.
I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you.
Please do.
I will.
And by the time you get back to me, I don't even know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
He might have stopped belching.
Yeah, well, they said didn't do it on the microphone. The problem with this stupid show is I'm smelling all these glasses, and then I'm holding them up because I need to be in front of the microphone. And more often than not, I end up smelling the microphone cover. And it doesn't smell very good.
But it's you. It's your microphone.
It's me.
cover, right?
It's Justin.
Yeah.
It's mainly Justin, let's be honest. Anyway, that's a window into my life. I like this alt.
Yeah, Northern German
roasty
alt beer can go to light brown too. I mean, this is probably kind of more medium brown, but
a little darker than
But that
style, but
it's really interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a pretty brown beer. I mean, it's about the same color as the brown glass bottle that's sitting here in front of me. It's pretty brown. You can always coat that microphone with patchouli oil to make it smell less offensive.
I would love that.
Some people would probably actually drag you out and kill you for it, though.
Robert, what are you doing to us? What are you doing? What do you got?
He's pouring more beer.
Pour some more. Last one of the night.
Okay.
Our Weiss beer.
All right. Okay. I can get behind this. And then I think we can take this out and maybe let some of the staff drink it.
Because it's always good to leave with a little Weiss.
I might steal that Kolsch.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
I've got a few Weisses myself.
All right. Remember where it went.
This Weiss beer.
We're kind of going the wrong direction here, dark to light.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a good palate cleanser, Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little banana.
What yeast do you use for this? I mean, it's very banana clove. It's right in that middle, that sweet spot.
Must be the Weihenstephaner.
This has got some major yeast character in it. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Really
Wow.
firm. Just takes you right over to Germany.
So I got to be honest, I don't know a whole lot.
Jesus, Robert, do you know anything?
I don't know.
He doesn't know anything.
No, I'm useless.
Yeah,
he's even more useless. But we do a secondary fermentation in the kegs.
Okay.
Which is it's been interesting to go out and sell the beer with that.
Yeah,
they love that first pour full of haze.
Correct.
Yeast, yeah. Something that have to roll the keg every half hour.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that'll work.
But it's been another one that's been really well received.
Yeah, the Weizen has a really nice balance to it between the banana and the clove, and it has a pretty firm maltiness to support all that yeast character too. I mean, it's for a fairly light colored beer. It's not slouching on the malt character either. So there's like the three-pronged attack,
There we go.
Yeah, attack. If anybody has ever thought that a Hefeweizen was a boring, mild-tasting beer, this thing will smack you in the gob. I mean, this is pretty intense flavors here.
And I think we're at, 6.8 on this one?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really...
It's a pretty heavy...
That's really getting kind of Weizenbach territory.
We actually call it what do we call it? Wheat wine, right?
We do.
Noma Wise wheat wine.
Yeah.
So...
It is a little lacking in the carbonation too from the growler pour, but I'm sure at the tasting room it'll pour really nice there.
Yeah. That's delicious.
Yeah, that is kind of nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the commercial beer I compare it to, it's not really taste quite the same, but I mean, that alcohol level is kind of like a Vitas Weizenbock. Mm-hmm. The pale Weizenbock is kind of nice. Yep. It's definitely got that. Yeah, it's definitely leaving some warming. Can I have more of that?
Absolutely.
Getting some warming. Give me some more.
What's the threshold for a Weizenbock?
Oh, I don't know. Probably like 7%. Maybe 6.5. I don't remember the number.
Oh, okay.
But it's definitely...
So it's there. It's...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is there. And it's definitely a Bock version of a Weizen. I mean, the classic one would be Aventinus. That's a darker one. The Vitas is a pale Weizenbock. It looks like a regular Hefeweizen just to look at it. But
yeah, Weizenbock starts at 6.5% ABV.
Okay.
So this could be a Weizenbock.
It could very well.
In fact, it is.
It is. I think it should be. There it is. Done. Figured that shit out.
We just made up our own.
It's
a wheat wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, because no one's going to know what a Weizenbock is.
Yeah.
So
and no one knows what a wheat wine is either.
Approaches.
So it's all good.
Yeah. That's pretty good, man.
If you have the new BJCP style guidelines, you would know what a wheat wine is.
Oh, do they break it out? In
I haven't read them yet, but I think you would.
Yeah.
I've read through a little bit.
Every style's in there now.
Good.
It's got everything. They thought of everything.
Comprehensive, yes.
Every single style. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming in.
Hey, you know what? Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Seriously.
This is
great.
Did we help? Did we hurt? Did we abuse you? What happened here?
Did we set up conflicts within the organization?
No, not at all. Not at all. It would have been good for Tim to be here, but again, he couldn't. So we'll take the feedback back. I'm really interested to see, maybe we can do a mashup, right? See if we can combine the two. But
why not?
Brewing it on a professional system takes some of the issues that I see in the beer out. Plan would be, I think we're going to try and brew this next week. Give it
on the full scale.
Yeah, full scale.
Okay.
We'll do a full 15-barrel batch, and then probably give it 2 to 3 weeks to get ready with all the dry hopping and all that stuff. So hopefully it'll be out kind of the late June, early July timeframe. So
do you have a name for the beer yet?
We don't. We'd love some help on that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
People in the chat maybe can make up a name.
We have a chat room contest.
Did I just open up Pandora's box?
You pretty much did.
They won't give any names you can use publicly.
Dr. Dank.
Yeah, the way this is going, Pandora's box, the anime porn, because these people are crazy. But I think we can come up with some. I don't know if we can do it on the spot, but maybe a Dr. Homebrew. But I think you want to take the Homebrew name out of it.
Just call it JP's beard.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cultured from the yeast in JP's beard.
I don't know if I could do that.
I don't think that would sell.
I don't think
I really don't.
Have a picture of JP right on the tap handle.
Oh, yeah. Drive sales away. It'd be great. We're going to go around the corner, but there's nothing around the corner.
Yeah, these guys wanted to market their beer, not...
Yeah. Right, yeah, let's get some. Orange hat, because he's wearing an orange hat. There you go.
Well, we're not going to solve your marketing issues now, but...
somebody will think of something. The chat room is pretty creative sometimes.
The chat room is pretty creative. Lulu's asking what was it. Lulu was a session IPA. If you weren't talking about cats in the chat room the whole cats and porn, you would know these things. Anyway, everyone, thanks for hanging out. This has been Dr. Homebrew. Robert and Derek, thank you very much coming in from Sonoma Springs.
Thanks for having us.
Brewing company down there. If you guys are ever up in Sonoma, check them out, please. Delicious beers, and soon to have a Dr. Homebrew tweaked out, what the hell, session IPA? I still haven't gotten used to that. It's so foreign to me.
Get used
Session
to it.
IPA, you've got like 3 of them on tap right out here.
I know, it's still just like, it seems like in the past 4 months, everything is now a session IPA.
You're behind the times. Go on,
I am behind the times.
Summertime.
Yes.
I don't think I want to.
Because people finally started listening to you.
Tame down your IPAs, guys.
Either Lulu is giving this as a name suggestion, or she's commenting to me, but she says you don't have to yell.
That's a good name for a session beer. You don't have to yell.
Yeah.
Session
it's
IPA.
Quiet.
It's actually not bad.
That's pretty good.
I'll leave it up to you
Quiet
guys.
session IPA.
If you use that, we get 20% of all sales. Okay, everyone, it's been Dr. Homebrew. We'll see you next time. Cheers.